In the stillness of the night, the town of Acro lay silent and motionless. Nestled beside the vampire village, this town sees few travelers passing through its gates. Thinking about how tattered this town is, the protagonist overhears a man talking about the rumors surrounding the vampire village, which is now affecting the ragged town and the ones living there. He enters the shop in his hooded cape and asks the people talking about the route to the vampire village. They ask if he is a vampire hunter, but to their surprise, he isn't. He's a necromancer, Randall. Randall has been assigned a special quest to investigate the vampire village and discover if the rumors are true and if the village is still used by some entity that plans to attack humans. It has been said that the undead are using the abandoned village as their base. It is more than just a quest. For him, it is a journey of self-discovery, a chance to uncover the truth behind the mysterious transformation of his powers. Once a humble tamer, he now finds himself wielding the dark magic of a necromancer, and he cannot rest until he understands why. A roar echoes through the air as soon as he reaches the village, catching his attention. He turns his gaze towards the source of the commotion, only to be met with the sight of two colossal beings. One of them is Ray, a fierce wolf spirit with a single horn protruding from his forehead. The other is Ace, a powerful minotaur spirit. These creatures are his familiars. He can still understand and communicate with their roars as a former tamer. He suddenly gets a sense of something eerie. He looks back and sees a bunch of undead coming to attack him. Ray and Ace leap in front of him, slashing apart every undead. Amused by their strength, he looks over to the pile of dead and can't help but feel bad for them. He goes down on his knees, joins his palm, and prays for them. Immediately, he hears a voice that congratulates him on using necromancy successfully. Moreover, he discovers his new strength built up from performing his ritual. Confused, he looks at his familiars, who tell him that necromancy can be used on the dead. He tries it by conjuring up a wide area of contact and starts necromancing. The results show improved stats, acquiring new strengths such as pain tolerance, blood recovery, regeneration, and physical resistance, along with the strengths of his familiars improved. Delighted, he looks again and sees that he has acquired white flame and lightning as an extra skill. He gets thrilled knowing these skills are the same as those used by sages. He soon realizes how his power has changed and improved from being a tamer to a necromancer who can steal the abilities of the dead and kill a living person effectively. He starts thinking that magic might not be necessary to exorcise vampires. His thoughts are interrupted by the voice of a girl who stands behind him. Before he can react, she slashes his arm in a swing. He had killed her familiars, and now she's here to make him pay. Randall's familiar Ray jumps in to attack her. He tries to stop him, but it's too late. She lunges forward and swiftly brings him down to the ground with a resounding crash. Quickly, Ace charges towards him, but she effortlessly flips him over. Randall's new skills prevent him from feeling pain, but she is too strong to be defeated. She turns towards him and throws him on jagged rocks. She starts getting closer and closer. At this point, all he can think of is how he will survive since he has lost too much blood, and it will take only one more blow from her to finish him off. Amid all the chaos, Randall recalls that he has acquired two unique and powerful skills. He aims towards the girl and then shouts, "White Inferno," and a dazzling white spiral appears that charges towards the girl. But it's of no use. She seems to have passed through it unscathed. The girl stands smiling in front of him, mocking him and his skills. He gets up and conjures up lightning from the sky. With a sudden and deafening crash, a bolt of lightning strikes her, illuminating the dark and stormy night. Randall falls to his knees again, completely drained of energy. He looks up hoping that the skill might have worked, but it hasn't. She stands before him, looking him in the eye. She's impressed. She makes an offer to him to be her Janus. Puzzled, he looks at her. Seeing his expression, she goes on and introduces herself as the Lord of Pure Blood who is willing to take him as her Janus. Randall starts to think that this might be the only way for him to survive since he clearly can't defeat her. He starts to consider the offer and asks her if they must make a blood contract to become her genius. She nods. He further inquired about the consequences after making the contract. She blows up at him, saying that she doesn't know since it's her first time. He gives a weak smile and then asks her name. "I'm Miriam, the Lord of Pure Bloods," she tells him. He tells her that he has a proposal for her. Curious, she asks him about the proposal, but before he could talk, she uses her skill to give him back his arm. For a split second, Randall thinks of the consequence. If she turns out to be the vampire who's plotting against mankind, it will put him in a difficult position. But from what he observed before, he assumes that she possesses no harm. He takes a risk and asks her to be his friend. After hearing this, her face goes blank. Randall inquires if this means no, but she looks down with a fearful expression and tells him that she's scared. Scared of humans, she's aware of the fact that vampires are incompatible with mankind, and although they haven't yet hurt her kind, she cannot shake the fact that they are dangerous. That is why she offered him to be his genius, as a genus can't betray her since they're bound by the contract. He proposes using his necromancy to create a contract with her, ensuring they would both be equal. She agrees to it, and he goes on and says, "It's Randall, my name." She greets him with a smile, but she feels something off about his name. She shakes off the thought and sits with him. Randall extends an invitation for her to join him on his adventures, and without hesitation, she eagerly accepts. She asks about the consequence of using necromance to make the contract, but Randall himself is unsure since it's his first time too. She tells him that she decided to put a hold on making him his genus since it's an unbreakable bond and breaking it means death. He starts to doubt himself as he thought becoming a genius would be fine if he made a contract as well, but now he finds himself questioning that motive as he thinks he just wanted to be there for her. He stands up and tells her to come with him to the guild so that he can register her as an adventurer. He also informs her that the guild has a lot of humans, but she looks at him and says it's fine since she has him. Randall looks at her smiling face and they depart for their new adventure. The wind starts to blow strongly, the weather starts getting bad. Randall suggests that they stay at an inn for the night since it won't be possible for them to make it through. Randall comes back and informs them that he was able to get only one room for the two of them. She assures him that it's fine, and she wonders where his familiars went. Randall takes out a small bottle and tells him that the spirits are in there. They sit down on the bed when Miriam reminds him that they haven't formed the contract using necromance until now, and suggests that they do it right now. Randall agrees and starts his ritual. Once the ritual is completed, he looks at his skills and is astounded by the new and unique set of skills he acquired by sharing both of their skills. Miriam seems to be confused about what is happening. Randall explains to her that necromance has made them share each other's skills. Miriam gives him a weird gesture and tells him that she has never seen or heard of a necromancer before, to which Randall replies that he has leveled up from a tamer to a necromancer, which makes Miriam even more shocked as she asks again if he was tamer. Randall figures that he must tell her everything now that they both are going to work together. He starts telling her about his past, the days when he was just luggage to his party, a luggage tamer. He further elaborates that his work was to look after and tame the spirit that was at times Ray, and used to stay in the stables with him. At that time he was not much of use for the party and was never invited to the meetings, which made him sad. Once he overheard his party members fighting about keeping him in the party. The head knight Loig was not in favor of keeping him. He was also annoyed by Ray's barks. The other members, head priestess Quella, magician Male, and leader Fado, were not so quick to cast him aside. They knew that despite his faults, Randall still had valuable skills that were essential to their mission. They argued that he is still of use to the party as there is only some work he can do. Annoyed by the discussion, Loig goes back to his room. On his way he screams at Randall and warns him about Ray. The rest of the members take their leave as well since they have a quest of the god-slaying dungeon to fulfill in the morning. Randall couldn't help but feel sad since he thought he'd been doing a good job. He thinks about the difference between his members and him as he is not able to go into battles with them. He lacks skills. Ray comforts him and lightens Randall's mood. The next day the party departs for their quest of the god-slaying dungeon where no one has ever set foot before. Randall tags along with their luggage on his back and is reminded repeatedly to keep up with the pace. Once they reach there, they remind everyone to not fall behind. Randall thinks of it as his last quest with the party and goes in. Monsters are popping out from the walls, coming at them from every direction. Fado reminds Randall that his job is to keep his eyes open and inform them about the incoming attacks. Loig starts to taunt Randall again, belittling him of his perceived uselessness when Randall shouts and informs Fado about the attack from behind. Fado looks behind and with his sword slashes them in half in one single swift. Suddenly they found themselves surrounded by a horde of monsters. With no escape in sight, they were backed into a corner. Randall starts to think that there is no way out now. It is then Ray sprang into action, bravely throwing himself in front of the monstrous creature and sinking his teeth into its flesh. Randall senses something. He looks back and alerts Loig of the attack from behind. Loig turns and tears them apart, but he doesn't seem happy about the fact that Randall informed him too late. Quella shrieks as her hand touches the poisonous wall. Loig turns back at Randall and criticizes him for not being able to see such an easy trap. Randall runs towards Quella, taking out the antidote for her hand, but is stopped by Male as she handles it already. Randall feels useless and ashamed of himself, and Loig isn't making it any easier for him. As they proceed further, Fado suggests they change formation. Loig and Male pair up while Fado pairs up with Quella, protecting her and keeping her as a backup. Randall is left with Ray and they both progress further with the team. The party seemed to have come to a halt. To their utter shock, they were standing before 5 minotaurs who were the floor boss of the god-slaying dungeon. Fear and helplessness make Fado give the order to retreat, which is opposed by Loig, but there is no other way to save their lives. They cannot fight these humongous creatures all by themselves. They dash with the speed of light to save their lives. Randall, on the other hand, seems to have difficulty in running. Despite his panting breaths, he attempts to converse with Fado, only to be met with a stern reminder that the responsibility of the luggage rested solely on his shoulders. Quella and Mail shout at Fado for saying such nonsense. Randall reminds them that it is impossible to run with this load for him. Lloyd calls out Mail and asks her to lose some things to reduce the weight, but is met with silence from her side. He shouts that someone must sacrifice themselves for others to love. Fado looks at Randall with dead cold eyes and Loig exclaims that they have the perfect person for it. Mail and Quella look at them in disbelief. Quella tries to stop him from saying such things, but Loig asks her if she can sacrifice herself for Randall. Her face goes white with fear and she stays silent. Randall finds himself in trouble. They are willing to make his bait to save themselves. Randall knows he must do something to save his life. He runs to Fado and tells him that if he can lose only some of the luggage, he will be saved. Fado looks at him and with a cold voice reveals that he was planning to kick him out of the party after this quest, but there is still something he can do. Randall's eyes widen in confusion as he gazes at Fado, but he has an evil smirk on his face as he reaches for his sword. In a desperate attempt to save himself, Randall cries out for Ray's help, but it's too late. Fado draws his sword and swings it at him. Randall's heart pounded in his chest as he braced himself for the blow of the sword. But to his surprise, the blade did not pierce his flesh. Instead, it stopped just short of his chest, leaving him unscathed. Fado held him on the point of his sword. Shaking, Randall looks at Fado, who is telling him to sacrifice himself now to be remembered as a legend who saved their lives forever. Fado leaves Randall and runs away. Randall sits on his knees, still unable to accept the fact that they all left him there to die. But he looks back and realizes that none of them cared for him from the start. They just wanted to get rid of him, and his work meant nothing to them. He then accepts his fate and is ready to die and rest because he can't take it anymore. He throws his head down and braces himself for the inevitable. The menacing minotaurs loom over him, ready to strike. But just as they are about to pounce, a blur of movement catches his eye. It's Ray, his faithful companion, leaping fearlessly into the fray to protect his master. He bites them, scratches their skins with its paw, and stabs them with its horn, but it doesn't seem to be working. The minotaurs are too strong, and each time they throw Ray on the floor with a resounding crash. Randall screams for Ray to stop. He begs him to stop, and tears stream down his face as he pleads with his friend to save himself and not risk everything for his sake. He keeps begging him to stop and run away, but Ray doesn't listen. One of the minotaurs grabs Ray by his neck, throwing him on the ground. Randall begs the minotaur to stop screaming with fear. The minotaur takes out his axe and slashes Ray apart. A stream of memories goes through Randall's mind of how Ray used to be by his side all the time, comforting him and being the best companion. He runs towards Ray's body and sits there crying his heart out when the minotaur swings his axe at him and he looks at it with his teary eyes. Despite the danger, he stares at the weapon with teary eyes, almost welcoming the possibility of reuniting with Ray once again. Amid the Minotaur's rampage, a fierce attack came upon him. Something was tearing him apart with great force. As Randall's gaze lifted, he beheld a breathtaking sight. Ray, with a fierce glint in his eyes, was locked in a fierce battle with the Minotaurs. He looks at Ray's body, bewildered at how it is possible. Ray is right here beside me, motionless. He looks up again and finds Ray standing in front of him after taking down the Minotaurs. He hears a strange voice saying that he has fulfilled the conditions for necromancy, and he has acquired both Ray's and the Minotaur's powers, which have made his status rise along with his familiar Ray. He looks at Ray, not believing his eyes that he stands before him. He notices that Ray's appearance has become transparent, and he is now able to float in the air. Aside from this, Ray seemed content and joyful. He realizes that he can understand Ray's feeling better than before and wonders if it's because of the necromancer ability he got before. He starts whimpering, knowing that Ray died because of him, but still, he is proud of the fact that he was able to save his master and can serve him even in the afterlife. He bows down in gratitude to Ray, thanking him for his contributions. After the havoc, Randall stands before the motionless bodies of Minotaurs and Ray, wondering what to do with them. He certainly can't leave them. As he pondered over his predicament, he realized that leaving things as they were was not an option. As he stood there lost in thought, his mind wandered back to the strange voice that had spoken to him before. It had claimed that he had absorbed the power of both the Minotaur and Ray. The thought occurred to him that if he could summon Ray, he may be able to summon the Minotaur as well. He puts his hand on one of them and with a swoosh a giant Minotaur stands before him. He is astounded by seeing him. He throws a punch at the wall and it leaves a huge crack. He realizes that he has absorbed the powers of the Minotaurs, but they don't seem to have lost their power even in this form. It was almost as if they had shared their power with him, rather than him absorbing it entirely. His attention is again diverted to the bodies that lie flat on the ground. He starts to think of ways to carry these, and just when he hears that strange voice again that tells him he has acquired a new skill, the coffin of the dead spirit, which he can use to keep the bodies of his familiars. After putting away the bodies, he starts to assume that this little thing can hold his luggage as well. He soon hears a roar. The Minotaur looks at him and Randall goes in shock after finding out that the Minotaur will be carrying his luggage for him. He thanks him and then starts to think of a name. He names him Ace. By naming the Minotaur, its status rose, which made him stronger. He has upgraded from a tamer to a necromancer. Delighted, he starts to think of all the possibilities he could have along with his familiars. Meanwhile, the party that abandoned Randall is still inside the dungeon fighting monsters. As they are met with challenges, they are reminded of Randall, how he was able to inform them about the attacks and be of use to them. Everyone starts to feel his absence. Hearing Randall's name repeatedly is making Fado lose his mind. In anger, he charges on monsters thinking of Randall. He reminisces on the past where everyone used to love Randall and he was the center of attention due to his skills and knowledge. He learned everything he knows from Randall, still he wasn't able to surpass him. Once the party was formed, he made sure to conceal Randall's talents from the others. He assigned him to the most grueling tasks and kept him out of the spotlight. Seething anger boiled within him. His rage is uncontrollable as now he again finds him standing in front, keeping him from being the hero. While on the other side, Randall reaches a place where the treasure lies. His minion hints at wearing the cloak of Yomi. As he wears it, his absorption evolving ability boosts, and his necromancer strengths also increase. A familiar strengthening ability also put improvements in his minions. He also gets the ability to make his familiars invisible. So, he plans to use it for the Ace, as people might be frightened to watch him and let Ray subside with him. Now he looks at the box where the sword and clothes of his party members are left. His minions growl to forget about them. He imparts that he will visit the guild to disclose his resignation. He is also excited to watch their faces when he visits them. As soon as Randall walks into the guild, everyone is bewildered. He is also not expecting such heroic attention. Nina-san is also splendid to see him. She is clueless about the events that happened in the building, so she wants to listen. Randall puts Fado in sheer astonishment, disclosing that he single-handedly defeated the 5 Minotaurs. Loig tries to ridicule the death of his minion Ray, but he straight gets to the point that he's leaving their part and will report about the mishaps of the guild. Loig grabs his hand and prattles for a while, but Randall is calmer than ever before. He tossed away Loig with the sheer power of his one hand. Loig gets pissed and kicks Randall away. Fado orders Loig to stop the fight. Loig accused Randall of the mishappening occurred against the floor masters. Mail interrupts that Loig is responsible for the injuries taken by Quella and the Vanguard. Quella replies humbly that she is quite good now. Randall gives her an intricate robe that can help her heal the wound. Fado is stunned to watch a robe coming out of nowhere. Quella apprises that this robe is better than her own sacred church's robe. Mail discloses that this artifact is the reward for defeating the floor boss. Hasty Loig finds it an opportunity to extort all the artifacts from Randall. He imprecates Randall for his so-called impotence and demands all the goods he obtained. Fado again warns Loig that this is not the right way to demand. Loig ignores him and grabs Randall by the collar. Some grab Loig and raise him way above the ground. Everyone is shocked to watch Minotaur inside the guild. Randall informs them of the Minotaurs he killed and once became his companion. He signals his minion to release Loig, and regarding the treasure, Randall doesn't need anything besides the cloak he already wears. He further directs Nina-san to divide the remaining Minotaurs' corpses among them. Nina-san is of the view that Randall has the authority over all the treasure and Minotaurs, as he defeats them solely, and there is no evidence against him putting any damage to the party. As everyone disclaims the right to collect luggage from now on, they will need to buy these items from the guild. Heated Loig starts to curse Nina-san and suggests grabbing all the goods by force, but Fado again seizes him. He discerns that they are broke as hell. How can they pay for the goods? Nina-san replies, now you've understood how things will work. She tells Randall that he can carry the party cancellation and solo registration process wherever he likes. Short-tempered Loig grabs Randall from collars again and questions why he didn't defeat the giants earlier so nobody could be harmed. But as he looked at Ray, he got frightened as it turned more strenuous than ever. Everyone around started to poke fun at him for acting like a scary cat. It enraged him to fight more than ever. "I bet you know what will happen." And again, the party head Fado instructs him to stop. But luckily Loig does stop, so Fado briefs Randall that what Loig apprehended is true. "Why you never told us? You put our lives at stake." Randall ascertains that blaming me without even listening had made you guys suffer. Nina-san adds that everyone will listen to Randall to determine who's at fault. Fado objects to telling their side of the story. Nina-san ceases to talk anymore. They misinformed her that Randall himself was forced to sacrifice his life on the boss floor. The reality is that Randall put himself in front of every situation, even though you still misguided the guild about that. She further continues that they could be blacklisted, or their S-rank status could be cancelled by the guild regarding their actions. Both Loig and Fado are shocked because she talks about the bounty on their heads for deceiving the guild. All of them are speechless as the guild is initiating an extensive inquiry into the accusations. But as Nina-san and Randall try to leave, both Quella and Mail request Randall to let them join his team. Mail deduces that Loig has distorted the party's behavior of command, and somehow they are in a situation where their adventurer's identity could be in danger in addition to S-rank status. Fado scolds them when they prefer Randall as leader over him. Randall ponders that Mail first suggests using him as bait, acknowledging the danger. Both Fado and Loig are most likely to be punished, therefore these girls are just trying to escape the problem as they did before. Randall refuses to accompany them. Quella feels sorry, but it's of no use. Randall and Nina-san move towards the office where she gives him a bag of coins and a book to abolish his necromancer skills. She further discerns that the guild has always considered him the central entity of the party. Before the death of Ray, he thinks of himself as nothing more than a tamer and a conveyor. Thus he guesses Nina-san being sarcastic about him. Nina-san briefs him about his unique ability to direct his party even while carrying the luggage. His party could have never reached the S-rank status without him. Nina-san also feels sorry for not responding to the problem earlier, as she knew the intentions of Fado-san to exclude him from the party. Randall is clueless about these happenings. Nina-san notifies that the guild wants an S-ranked party to permanently reside in this place to counter the threats from Margrave's territory. She suggests he heads a party with members if not Quella and Mail. Randall wants to have an adventure alone, but on Nina's request, he agrees to think of adding some people to have a party for the guild. However, he never accompanies anyone until today, when he is retailing his whole story with Miriam. Miriam concludes that it must be a weary journey for Randall, but Randall says he is happy to adventure and live as a free man. Miriam taunts him that his happiness is even toppled because of her companionship. Afterward, she tells him to sleep as needed and to rise early. But the story commences in Randall's mind, where Mail is questioning her fate, and Loig is cursing Randall for putting them in a pitfall. They are all depressed about getting blacklisted from the guild. Fado got agitated, bearing the malice of Randall for a long time. Randall's story ceases here, and the very next day he and Miriam visit the place where his first minions, Ray and Ace, died. Miriam imparts that these minions will never come alive again. Randall's minions with familiar powers get jealous of such a question. Miriam understands what she needs to do. She casts his magic on the minions, which evolves them into feral minions. A notification pops up which mentions that Ray reaches a very high level of a species named Fenrir, and Ace also has reached the level of a unique monster. Randall is shocked to watch such a drastic change. Miriam tells that she made their dead bodies fuse with the living to energize their spirit. Miriam is quite surprised to watch his minions cuddling him. Randall asks her to teach some of her new skills of Lord of the Night and Black Fog, which he got while forming a pact with her. Miriam feared that he had lost those powers after forming the pact, so she tries all his powers and acknowledges that Randall has a share of her powers. One of the attributes used by Miriam is Nightfall magic, and it is the darkest magic controlled by the Commanders of Death. At first, she hesitates to teach him such astonishing skills, but considering him a friend, she agrees. Firstly, she talks about the Black Fog. It's a magical defense ability to produce fog and even turn yourself into fog. So, no physical attack can affect the vampires except their weaknesses. Secondly, she informs about Lord of the Night magic. It carries souls like bats that cause miracles like the one she used to heal the bashed arm of Randall. He asked about her Nightfall magic. She replies that it is about the blood of the undead, which increases his lifespan. Randall ascertains that such traits sharpen your instincts. Afterwards, she induces another magic ability, Nightfall Coffin. It's the same magic as Coffin of the Dead Spirit, but as Randall uses this magic, it appears that it can store every item. His minions feel jealous about it as it can replace them, but they instantly get cherished as Randall will always look for them in hours of need. They continue their journey, and while on the way, Randall asks Miriam why light isn't affecting her as it affects most of the vampires. Miriam gets enraged and warns Randall to never trivialize her ever because she is a vampire lord and no sunlight, holy water, silvers, or crosses affect her. She sounds invincible to Randall as she said that the blow of a wooden stake can't affect her. Randall shows the desire of becoming a vampire, but she informs her that might be susceptible to sunlight. Miriam is excitedly flying on her wings as she is on an adventure around humans. Randall also gets enchanted to have vampire wings. They fly to the guild on their wings. Miriam suggests he learn shadow movements as it can enable a person to travel long distances easily. Afterward, she moves towards the guild's building. Randall informs her that this guild used to kill the vampires is not very late. Miriam questions Randall if he thinks that the guild can defeat her. Randall has not doubted her sheer strength. They enter the guild and people start to mutter about his giant wolf, and that girl could be the reason why he rejected Mael and Quella. Miriam is impressed by the limelight of Randall in the guild. He tells her it happens only because of her presence. Ninsan greets both and asks Miriam about his name. Miriam doesn't know how to converse with female humans. She reacts strangely by saying that Nina-san's beauty is forcing her to bite her. Randall instantly stepped in and apologized to Nina-san for such conduct. He introduces Miriam, his new companion, as a bit of an eccentric lady. Nina-san is quite surprised, but she directs her to enter the registration and then they will assess her skills, including Randall-san. It sounds strange to him why there is also a need to assess his skills. The guild gets to the place where Nina-san instructs Miriam to hit a target placed at some distance by any means. Miriam starts to whisper to Randall that hitting the target with his special knife would work. Nina-san and others are watching her aiming the target with a lethal weapon. It looks like instead of protecting a country's princess, Randall has brought one. After hitting the target precisely, it bashed into pieces, and everyone there was surprised by her strike. Miriam and Randall try to bring down Nina-san that the target must be made of weak material because it vanishes. Randall suggests Nina-san give Miriam B rank just like her. A girl named Luminous-san appears and ascertains that the way Miriam broke the target sounds inhumane. Randall knows her as she possesses the memory skill called Holy Sword. She is a myth as she holds S-rank status while adventuring alone. Both Randall and Miriam meet with Luminous. She possesses skills called a Holy Sword. She laughs and says that she has become very popular. She asks them to start a fight as both parties are busy. Randall replies that he doesn't know about himself, but she is a busy person. She comes towards him with her sword and attacks him. Her attack is troublesome, even though she is younger than Randall. She asks him if he is ready. Randall wonders what a fearsome person she is, and then she comes to him. Both Ray and Ace also come for his help. Luminous smiles and says it is very interesting to see the power of a necromancer. But suddenly she disappears in front of them and attacks Ray from the back. Ace tries to attack her, but he is slower than her. Now she attacks both Ray and Ace with her sword. Both also fight and attack her. She is surprised that both exceed a rank in terms of strength. Now they are not just plain old Minotaur. Randall appreciates both Ray and Ace for their strength. Now Luminous attacks try to attack directly on Randall. She says to him that as he was watching from a safe distance, his familiars fought for him very cowardly. She tells him that doesn't forget it is his exam. He feels anxious because he has let his guard down. Therefore, it is easy for Luminous to attack him. He calls Black Fog to save himself from her sudden attack. She is surprised to see Black Fog. Randall is happy because he made it in time. Luminous says that it means Randall has an interesting ability, but she thinks that he still cannot meet her speed. She suddenly attacks from his back. Both Miriam and Nina-san are worried about him. They close their eyes. He holds her attack on his arm. He holds her sword with his hand. It is bleeding from his hand. Finally, he passes this quest. On the name of the Holy Sword, Luminous grant him the right to address himself as S-rank. All people are happy that Randall has done it. They appreciate him and that he has talent. Finally, he is a solo S-ranker. He thanks them all, which says that he is also wondering how he has done it. Luminous says that it is 100 years early that he has defeated her. She already has a feeling that it will happen one day. Nina also congrats him. It is an amazing feat. He develops extra skills, super reactions, and ultra-sensory absorbing abilities. Randall says that it happens because of Miriam because she has given him skills. Luminous has done her job here. Randall thanks her. She asks him to fight again soon. He also agrees. They shake hands with each other and say goodbye. Randall says that it is a good experience for him. She says that she will pray for his success. It is also a good experience for her. She says that now she shall go to fight with some dragons nearby, and Randall also. All sudden Miriam sees that his arm is still bleeding. She shouts to Randall to see his arm. He tells her that do not worry, he is fine. and the wound is not so deep, but she calls for the Lord of Night. Both Randall and Nina were surprised to see her behavior and care, and Nina takes both with her. Ray and Ace also wonder what has happened. Randall tells them that she is a vampire and she fears humans. Now Nina understands the actual situation. She asks him why she has not told her this earlier. Now she understands the whole scenario, but Miriam says that she will leave this place soon, as she has no plan to put them in any danger. Nina asks her why she is suddenly saying to leave them. Miriam tells them that it isn't bad for her to stay there, but Nina says there is no problem whatsoever. She shouts at Randall that more immortally the problem is that he lied to the guild. She says that false reports are felonies. Randall says sorry to Nina, but she says that she is going to report to the guild master. Both Randall and Miriam were shocked at listening to her. Both ask her to excuse them, but she knocked at the door. She comes inside. Gillen is sitting on the sofa with his back towards them. Nina tells him that she has brought Randall with her. Gillen stands up from the chair and meets with them. He says to Randall that it's been a long time to saw him again. Miriam asks Randall who is he. He tells her that he is the guild master, and Gillen and Randall don't expect him to be back. Gillen asks Miriam if she is a rumored girl. He greets him. He says that she is a high-ranking demon. She says to Gillen that he has a good eye for catching people. He is right. She is a vampire lord. Gillen says to Randall that he has brought a big shot here. He also asks if he has become her kin or something else. Miriam replies that it doesn't matter whether Randall is her kin or not. He is her friend. Gillen says that Randall has made a good friend and Randall smiles. Meanwhile, Gillen bends his knees and says that he has to say something. They ask him why he has become so serious suddenly. He says sorry to them and says if he was more competent then things wouldn't be like that. Randall says that there is no need to say sorry, but he requests them to let him apologize for all that has happened. Randall asks more importantly that some problems wouldn't arise after this incident. Nina pours tea into a cup and Gillen asks them to sit. Nina says that they should be thankful to Lord Cecilum. The guild master says that it is fortunate that he didn't give Fado the hero certificate before. He says that he feels sorry about Fado and others. He cannot ban them. They are also S-ranked parties. Miriam asks who is Lord Cecilum. Randall tells her that he is a frontiersman who rules the region. Gillen says that he cannot overlook Loig. He is going to be punished soon. Miriam asks what will happen to them. He tells her that they will be on home arrest from now. Randall wonders and asks if he is going to punish him. Gillen tells him that he is going to cancel his license and he wouldn't be able to return to the orders of the knights. Does Randall ask what do means? Gillen again apologizes that although it is exceptionally light punishment, but it will be a convenient outcome for Randall. To put it bluntly, it is just like cutting off a lizard's tail, and the other three will be demoted to a rank. Miriam says it will be difficult for them to take on any quest. He tells them that both Cecilum and he agree on this. Both Randall and Miriam stare in wonder. Fado is in a rank knight by himself, but the other two have the potential to be best in their respective roles. They are much stronger than the average adventurer, but Gillen says that they are decent vanguards and auxiliaries to the party. There is too much work they cannot do on their own. He asks if any adventurers are willing to give them a hand right now. He further tells that due to bad rumors spreading after this incident, people weaker than them refuse to get near them because they scare them. There is no choice but to hope that they will recognize their fault. He also asks Miriam if she can keep her identity secret for a while. She agrees but asks if it is because she is a vampire. Gillen tells her that it is not because she is a vampire. It is because some people care about that. Especially here are a lot of high-ranking officials that are annoying that way. Now she understands the situation. Gillen tells them that the biggest reason is that he doesn't want them to go through more trouble, as they already have much. He asks Miriam if she is comfortable claiming to be a human. She says to Randall that vampires are no longer hostile creatures in the eyes of humans. He asks her if he already told her that not all humans are bad, and she agrees with a beautiful smile. Gillen interrupts them and asks them to talk about the main reason he has invited them there. He tells them that there is a quest, and he needs Randall's help once he has returned. Randall wonders if that guild master needs his help. Gillen tells him that it is to investigate the dragon's graveyard, and Randall stares in wonder. Guildmaster Gillen tells Randall that it is a quest directly from Lord Cecilum. It is about investigating and dealing with the dragon's graveyard. Randall says that it would be an honor for him. Miriam asks what is a dragon's graveyard. Gillen realizes that she hadn't heard about it before. He tells her that he is talking about the mountainous region to the north, where the remains of a giant dragon and said to be defeated by a hero long years ago. She asks why they left it alone for such a long time. Are dragons not supposed to be vulnerable resources for humans? Gillen tells her that it was too large and heroes at that time had neither the strength to defeat nor the skill to carry it down. It was big enough to take it down. As a result, the bones of the dragon's skeleton were left to rot and became part of the terrain. The enormous magical power of the corpse turned into a miasma, and the surrounding area was devastated. He also tells them that a priest girl had been exorcising the miasma periodically, but now she is under house arrest. That's why he asks them for help. As Miriam is a vampire, it will be useful for her to make a powerful ally. She will be able to avoid troublesome situations in the future. Randall thinks that Gillen is talking about Quella. He says that he may be best suited for this job except for Quella, who is also a saint apprentice. Randall says that he can investigate it instead of taking this case as an opportunity to show off the vampire's power. He cannot promise that the problem will be solved. Nina gives one more cup of tea to him and asks Gillen to tell the truth to them. He asks them not to tell this to anyone else. He tells them that nowadays Dragon's graveyard is surrounded by a miasma, and it is unprecedented in the guild's record. Now Randall understands that there is already an anomaly. So, in this case, the worst that could happen is that request. Gillen says although it will be the toughest ever, it is a request to take the dragon zombie down. Miriam says excitedly that it seems interesting. Randall asks her for a plan as they are going to deal with dragon zombies. She says that it is too tough to deal with by herself, but she has a piece of cake for him. Randall says to her that don't underestimate him. It will be an honor for him to take on this mission. Gillen tells them that the guild also forms a unit to support them in defeating dragon zombies. So don't take tension and take on the mission. Nina is overly excited. She says that it will be fine if Randall takes it. Randall asks her why she is so confident in him. She tells him that he is in a unique class. She recently has a researcher on the Necromancer, and he is the first Necromancer recorded in the guild's history. Randall asks Nina about a unique class if it is rare. She replies in detail that unique classes are built in some kind of special conditions and many of them have outstanding abilities. For example, the Demon Lord and the Hero, the Sages and the Saint, the Holy Sword, and Luminous San as he met earlier. Randall says in wonder that it is a bunch of big shots. Miriam holds his hands and asks that if it will come down, she will step in. Gillen says that he expects a lot from both. They have a strong ally right now. Randall thinks by himself that, to be honest, he cannot help but feel uncertain. But everyone believes in him, so he decided to do his best, as he cannot betray their expectations. He asks them to leave this matter to him. Gillen tells them that he has left it in their hands. He advises them to be careful. Randall says goodbye to Nina and Gillen. He starts his journey towards a mountainous region to the north with his team. He continues to move on between the mountains. Miriam and Ray are also with him. He asks Miriam why she is walking with them instead of flying. She tells him that flying doesn't cause a loss of magic power, but for short distances walking is easier. She also says that they should take some rest as she is getting a little tired. Randall finds a safe place to take some rest. They sit on large stones. She asks him how long they will get there. He tells her that they will stay here for a while. He further tells her that there is a town called Adine on the way, so they are going to take a break there. She says that there are a lot of preparations that need to be done. Therefore, they should stay in Adine. She asks him to tell her more about the sleeping dragon and the dragon's graveyard, and how to do an investigation. Randall explains to her in detail that there are no specific rules regarding an investigation quest, because the fee is based on the value of what the investigation reveals. Investigation quest is divided into group investigation that pays little or no basic fee, and special investigations that require a similar level of trust. He further explains to her that because this is a special investigation, they need to investigate the site to the extent that their trust is not damaged. And as for dragons, it may be a well-known fairy tale. They listen to their parents before going to bed. Now Miriam understands the whole scenario. Randall tells her the dragon's story, and the story starts as, a long time ago, once there was a dragon that was feared in the surrounding villages. He demanded a sacrifice in return for not destroying the villages, and if there was no sacrifice or the dragon didn't like the sacrifice, he would bring misfortune to the villages. The villagers feared this and began to treat the dragon as a god to be worshipped. Then one day on a whim, the dragon is stopped by a nearby empire. The empire was not as docile as the village and the dragon was defeated. Miriam asks excitedly if there was a hero who played an active role. Randall tells her that there was no outstanding presence on the imperial side of the war. But before the violence of numbers, even the dragon had wounds all over their body. Then the hero appeared. It was the hero, the villages, and the sacrifices that destroyed the empire along with the evil dragon. The sacrifices gathered from the villages received blessings and gained considerable power through their continued worship of dragons. The dragon, which had been a god to villagers, became more revered by them, even in death after destroying the empire, which had been a more realistic threat to them. Miram asks then, how did the dragon die? He tells him that in some stories the dragon has reached its limit after the war against the empire, while others say that sacrifices killed it. It is vague. It is a fairy tale. Some tales are thoroughly written as dragons being the village's allies, while others are written as dragons being evil to villages. There are tons of different versions. At any rate, the dragon is dead, or there was a dead dragon in an empire. The only thing that has been revealed is that they were called heroes. Randall has given a brief description of what this graveyard is like. It is a dangerous place filled with miasma. Some adventurers go there in search of demons that only appear there, or in search of medicine obtained from the dragon's bones. The miasma is so thick, it can consume as much energy as the dungeon's depth. It is always rumored that it is a place where something could happen. That's why they are sent to investigate. And their journey continues, and they are during a dragon zombie outbreak. Miram says that they don't know the details until they get in there. Randall says, then let's start our journey. And they stand up. They stare in wonder. They are in the town of Adine. People are busy shopping there. When people see Ray, they ask them about him and gossip with each other. Randall requested Ray to return to the coffin for now. Meanwhile, Milam was dazed at something. Randall asks her why she is looking a little spaced out. Is there something wrong? She tells him that there are a lot of demi-humans in this town. He tells her that it is one of the peculiarities of this town. This is a place where a lot of demi-humans gathered from beast men to elves since old times. That's why there is no discrimination or persecution here. So, everyone lives in peace. It is a nice town. Milam feels happy and says it is so wonderful. Randall asks her to take a break to procure supplies and grab a bite. He also asks her if she can eat the same food as humans. She replies yes, of course she can eat. She also tells him that she doesn't need to eat in the first place. She can feed on mana. She also says that there may be a lot of demons and monsters close to this area, and human blood is the most efficient way for her to make her blood. Randall asks in worry her if it is better to have blood. Milam smiles and tells him don't worry. She is not going to drink human blood. Even with human food, she can get mana. Even without going through the trouble of eating, she can send her familiars to collect mana for her. Now Randall asks in a relaxed mood that she doesn't need to eat. She shouts that she didn't say it. Human food is wonderful, especially those cookies are amazing. Just consuming one of them fills me with energy. Randall was glad to hear it. He says then let's go to eat. A few hours ago, there was a meeting between Fado, Loig, and Quella. They ask Loig, why is he in such a hurry? What has happened? He tells them that Randall is next going to the dragon's graveyard. Quella was dazed in wonder. Fado says that they will also go there as well. But all of them are under house arrest and Quella is worried that what will happen if they were found. Log suggests that they can clear their names if they do it well. Roger tells them that Gillen has made a special request to Randall, and he is trying to keep this quiet. They were talking about the dragon's graveyard. Fado asks them what isn't done every year. Rumors of dragon zombies are a great talking point for everyone looking for excitement. Rogers tells him that it is not a rumor this time, and if there is a dragon zombie resurrected then they need Quella's help. She is a saint. She asks Roger surprisingly if they need her power. He tells her that she is the only one who can defeat dragon zombies and save the country. It will be an honor for her. Otherwise, the country will be in trouble. But Quella asks about the girl with Randall. Roger again asks her why she is acting so cowardly. If she will not do something to stop dragon zombies, everyone will be in trouble. Loig also says the same. Then Quella asks Fado about his opinion. He also says that in the unlikely event that the dragon zombie was to resurrect, then the country needs Quella's powers. Roger again adds that they all agree. Finally, Quella decided to do her best. In this case, no one will be in trouble, everyone will be saved. She says that she understands its importance. She will do it. Roger and Loig excitedly say that now they will know their importance and how much the guild needs them. Now let's go to the dragon's graveyard. On the other hand, Gillen sees the report by the order of Lord Cecilum. The license of Heavy Knight Loig is hereby revoked. He feels pity for him and thinks that he is so young. Gillen says there are so many people around here in the town. Randall tells her that Adine is a diversified town. He asks her if she is okay. She replies to him that if humans are not openly hostile, she feels comfortable. She also holds his arm and says it looks more natural. Randall stares at her. She holds his hand and starts moving quickly. He says to her, don't rush, delicious food is not going somewhere. She takes him to a fish stall. After having their meal, Randall and Milam continue their journey through the town. Both ride on Ray's back and reaches to Dragon's graveyard. Randall says thanks to Ray and decides to work hard to practice black wings, so that next time he doesn't put that much burden on Ray. Milim recalls to him that the last time when he tried to use black wings, he got hanged. Milim says that it's very dark here. Randall tells her it is worse than before. She asks him if he has visited this place before. He tells her that yes, he visited it before just once, but it has gotten worse. There may be some reason that miasma is increasing. Milim says that the corpse of a creature with magical powers left to rot in this state would certainly turn undead, and the dragon is forced to suppress it. Randall agrees with her and says that they should handle it accordingly. He says that whatever is suppressing, it is overflowing. This is the reason Gillen asks him to investigate it. They cannot leave it unattended because the mana here is too potent to begin with. If a monster or adventurer wanders into this place and a powerful lich or something similar is born, then there is a high risk that it could become a demon-like class. Meanwhile, Milim discovers a giant machine there. It looks like something countermeasure in this place. She tells Randall that it is the priest's magic tool and miasma control device. It controls the flow of miasma and purposefully feeds it to corpses of weak creatures and monsters around this area. That's why creatures that originally possessed little magic powers would not end up undead. And this place is overflooded with miasma because the dragon is to run out of its remaining magic power. But Randall still wonders why even though it's about to run out, the miasma is still increasing. She tells her that it is just like a candle. It burns brightest before it goes out. Randall says that then it is no problem if we leave this place alone. Milim tells him that if they leave it unchecked then one wrong move and this dragon which has gathered enormous miasma will turn into undead. They try to see the quickest way to end this. Randall asks if anything is there they can do, or is it possible for her to direct the miasma at the dragon. She says whether she can do it or not, but she can manage it somehow, because she has this magic tool that looks like an airplane engine. She decides that to dispel the miasma, she can take it for herself and reduce it. Then they will recheck the condition of the dragon and remove any creatures other than the dragon. Randall agrees with her and asks her to investigate again once they are there. He tells her that miasma is just like nightfall magic, and she can control it once she gets used to it. She replies to him that if it is so, she can do the same in no time. Then they move on. They see the skeleton of a dragon there. Milim says if they do nothing with it for decades or hundreds of years then its magic energy will run out, and everything will return to a normal state. So, it is a clever idea to prohibit people from entering this area. She says that they just need to take care that there will be no object or creature around here. Randall says that leave it to him. He will take care of it with his necromancy. Meanwhile, Fado, Roger, and Quella also reach there. When they see Randall is already there, they feel jealous and blame each other. They decide to reach the dragon first. They say that they will investigate first. Quella says that the miasma here is incomparable to the last time they were there. Roger places his hand on the airplane engine like a machine and says let's do it. Quella asks in wonder what to do. Fado reminds him that they have come here just to investigate, and if by chance the dragon is resurrected and they defeat it before Randall, it will be credited to them. So, there is nothing to do. But Roger replies to him that does he understand the situation they are in right now. He says to them that this is because Randall is being deprived of the S-ranked party. Loig replies to him that he, himself, cannot be an adventurer anymore. Roger shouts in anger and says that they cannot do much without a vanguard. Finally, he agrees with everyone, and they have no other choice. Roger asks them to wake up this airplane engine-like thing and crush it. Quella warns him to deliberately wake up the dragon. Roger asks her if she wants to go down in history as a cold-hearted and worse saint who abandoned her companions. He says that it would be better to solidify her status as a saint of miracles both in name and reality. She recalls some memories and decides that she will do it. Roger says that it has been rotting here for hundreds of years. He says that they can also say that Randall has screwed up it. Fado asks Quella if she can do it. She replies that she can do it without any problem. But she also doubts that it will turn into a big problem because it has been here for hundreds of years. She starts her magic and Roger asks her how long it will take to do. She tells him that it is almost done. But all of a sudden something wrong happened. Quella has lost control over it. The dragon zombie is going to revive, and someone is trying to interfere. Fado says that if it is someone other than Randall, then it is not good for them. Quella tells them that there must be some powerful undead nearby other than the dragon zombie. Loig makes them all invisible and asks them to leave the place immediately. But Roger still says to Quella that she can do it if she tries it. Fado asks what about the dragon zombie and they run from there. While running, Roger says that Randall is nearby, and they will come back when the dragon zombie kills him. Suddenly Milim flies up. Randall asks her if something is wrong here. He also uses his black wings to catch her, and they reach the airplane engine like a magic tool. She tells him that she came here because the device was acting wired. But there was no sign of anyone there, so they escaped. Randall asks in wonder who escaped. He tells that if the device has been altered, then the miasma must be getting abnormal. Therefore, they should go and check if everything is normal with the dragon's corpse. They go ahead to investigate the dragon. They see that it has absorbed too much miasma and it is about to turn into a dragon zombie. Randall asks her how long it will take to wake the dragon zombie. She tells him that it is a matter of a few minutes. He asks if there is something they can do. She says that they can try to reduce miasma as much as possible. Randall says that there is no time to organize a subjugation force. They must deal with it by themselves. He says that it may not be going to survive for long after it wakes up as a dragon zombie. Milam asks if that means they should let it be. The damage will be only limited to the destruction of one nearby town. Randall says it is not good. If its body is destroyed, then it will only remain in an unstable spirit-like state. Suddenly Milam develops an idea. She asks him if he cannot use his necromancy. Wouldn't having a dragon come in handy? Meanwhile, the dragon zombie wakes up. Milam shouts and tells Randall to hold on to it for 30 minutes. He worries that he must be with a dragon for 30 minutes, who has aroused eternal slumber. The dragon zombie is woken up after being poured with miasma. Milam wonders what a frightening aura is. Dragon attacks Randall. Milam shouts to ask him to dodge, but he cannot move his body. Ray and Ace come to save him from the dragon's attack. He says thanks to them. Now he decides to dodge properly, so he uses black fog. He wonders if earlier he was unable to move his body, but this time he managed to dodge somehow. Milam tells her that it is because of intimidation skills. She warns him to be careful when the dragon uses it again. The dragon zombie again attempts to attack Randall. This time Milam saves him and asks him to jump. She uses nightfall magic on the dragon and attacks it with anger. Both see that nightfall magic is working. Milam asks Randall not to let his guard down. She says that it looks like he is finally targeting them now. Therefore, they cannot think to take him down. Randall asks her if black fog magic will let them atomize to evade the attacks. She replies that if the dragon starts attacking with magical attacks, then their evasion or dodging technique and black fog magic will not work. Milam attacks the dragon's mouth. The dragon opens his mouth and Milam sees that there is nothing inside his mouth. Meanwhile, they see that dragon is running away. Both of them wonder why the dragon is going. Suddenly they see lightning in the sky. Randall says that lightning is Sage's magic. Milam is impressed by this magical skill. She says that the dragon didn't want to lose his magic, so he became serious, and he has been holding back so far. Meanwhile, a lot of sparkling rays start emitting from the dragon's body. Randall shouts that something is coming. He asks Ray and Ace to return to the coffin. He calls for nightfall magic. Rays are still emitting from the dragon's whole body. Randall asks Milam if there is someone in the forest. She says that don't worry about that. I just want to focus on the dragon right now. He asks her what is that attack. She tells him that it is a type of breath attack. A regular dragon doesn't use it. It is an instant death attack. And suddenly the dragon attacks with all his rays. Milam shouts that this attack is dangerous and asks him to avoid it at all costs. But he cannot evade in time. Both Atomization and Lord of the Night become ineffective. There is no way to hit back. Milam comes between Randall and the dragon's attack to save him. She says that humans are like babies, and it would be troublesome if Randall die off on his own. Finally, she blocks his attack. Randall asks her if she is okay. She says that she is fine. Just look at the dragon. It has used all its magic in this attack. It means it is time to finish it. She tells Randall that she will block the dragon's path with the Lord of the Night, and he also must do the same. Both call the Lord of Night and attack the dragon. It is futile. Dragon's blood drips on the ground. Randall says to Milam that she is amazing. She says that it goes for both. Now Randall sees her injuries and asks her if she is fine. She says that he forgets that she is a vampire. She uses Lord of Night magic to heal herself. Randall thinks that she is an amazing one. Now Randall uses his necromancy on the dragon. Milam asks him if it works. The Necromancer is successful on Ancient Dragon Grand Menace and now it is available for use. It is completely transformed into an infant dragon. Milam wonders if this infant dragon is bigger than the wyverns that Knights of Chivalric Order ride. Randall names this dragon Earl. Milam says that it is a good name, and he is happy. Randall absorbs Earl's abilities. He acquires one unique skill called Nightfall Conqueror, and 3 extra skills named Dragon's Blessings, the Dragon's Roar and Dragon's Breath. Ray, Ace, and Milam's status have risen substantially. Milam says that in no time, Randall is going to become a monster. She asks him to train this little dragon in this place, and they start training. Now Randall has gained a new companion and new power. With the dragon by his side, Randall's skills grew exponentially. As Miriam sits across from Randall, she couldn't help but feel a growing sense of curiosity and asks Randall about the skills he has acquired up till now. Randall mindlessly gives her an answer about having 4 skills, to which she asks in surprise again and tells him that even if he possesses one, he would be considered one of the strongest among the species. It was clear to her that Randall was new to all of this and had no idea what he was getting himself into. As he lamented about the futility of his skills, Miriam interjected with a glimmer of hope. Miriam starts to elaborate on the uses of his skills, telling him that he can take control of his opponent's magic if he uses his skills correctly. At this point, Randall is extremely invested in the conversation. Miriam also warns him that if he fails to gain control, he will only make it worse for both parties involved. She gets increasingly interested in learning about his other skills. Randall and Miriam discuss a few of his skills and how to properly make them work for the best, and they conclude that only extra skills are useful ones. She gives him more insights into his unique skills and how acquired the recent skill set, and has enhanced his other skill set. Randall is out of words, and he is more than amazed at his skills. After the long, insightful discussion, Miriam suggests that they go back, but Randall has other ideas and suggests that they stay the night at a nearby village. The deep darkness of the night falls, and they start moving towards the village when Randall notices Miriam being uneasy and holding onto him tightly. Concerned, Randall gently asks her what's wrong, sensing a sudden shift in her behavior. With a worried expression etched on her face, Miriam turns to him and expresses her fear of being spotted by humans. They had been out in the open for too long, and she was anxious that her identity might be revealed. Randall gazes at her with a gentle expression, his eyes filled with empathy. He asks if she can tell him why humans are so scared of her. At first, she seems hesitant, but she later starts explaining. According to her, she is the only daughter in her family of royalty, and after she was born there began vampire hunts. Randall cuts her off and confirms that she mentioned earlier that there were no causalities in her kind. Miriam explains that she isn't so sure because she was too young back then, and whatever she knows was written in a record book. Randall starts to assume that her parents might also be dead then, and Miriam clears his doubt by telling him otherwise. She continues that her parents left her, that's why she has no memories of them being captured or killed. Randall can't help but think that if her parents were alive, they should have been concerned about her. Miriam assures him that her parents must have left her for some reason. She tells him that she doesn't have any resentment towards her parents, since the concept of parent and child relationship in her kind is not as strong as humans. Moreover, she tells him that when she was a newborn baby she was sealed away, and that probably is the reason that she is alive right now. Randall tries to inquire more about the place she was sealed in, but she doesn't have any clue apart from the fact that it was filled with books. She just knows whoever it was trying to keep her alive. Randall starts to get ideas about who they might be. He asks her about the book she mentioned earlier, and she replies that it was the one she found there, which made her realize how cruel humans are, and that is why she's afraid of them. Randall starts to get suspicious of the mystery of Miriam's story. He asks her if he is the first human she saw, and Miriam replies positively, saying that she didn't find him like others. This makes Randall want to overcome her fears, but Miriam isn't very welcoming to this idea. Randall grabs Miriam's arm and starts running towards the village, assuring her that her worst fears won't come true, she just has to trust him. Once they reach the village, they see the villagers gathered in anticipation of their arrival, eager to express their gratitude. The heroes were met with a sea of smiling faces, each one thanking them for their bravery in defeating the dreaded dragon zombie. It was clear that they had become legends in the eyes of the people, hailed as heroes for their valiant efforts. Miriam's eyes opened wide in disbelief when the mayor thanked them and mentioned that he witnessed how they killed the dragon zombie. Her mind was in utter disbelief that these people still accepted her after seeing everything. Randall tells her that these people were originally in charge of monitoring the dragon's graveyard, but for the time being it's handled by the guild. The mayor invited both to join the festival they were planning, and they both humbly accepted. Randall assured Miriam that humans are as bad as she thought, and her perspective is changing over time. Little by little he aims to make her fear disappear. Loig's life hung in the balance, his fate uncertain. Quella, with her vast knowledge of healing, attempted to save him. Despite her best efforts, her skills proved to be of no avail. The zombie dragon's attack was too powerful, Loig wasn't able to handle it. His body stayed on the ground lifeless. Fado's mind starts slipping away from him once more, consumed by a fiery rage that he could not contain. The mere thought of Randall's triumph over the zombie dragon sent him into a frenzy, unable to come to terms with the fact that he and his team had fled in fear while Randall stood his ground and emerged victorious. As he stood there, his mind started to race with a million thoughts, each one more frantic than the last. He isn't thinking straight anymore. His anger explodes on Quella and Mael. He starts criticizing himself for using cowardly tactics to keep Randall below him all this time when he is stronger than him. He starts to think that everyone is mocking him now since he failed to do his job. As he rises to his feet, his eyes fixate on Loig's lifeless form. In a fit of rage, he directs his anger toward the fallen figure, berating him for his failure to heed his warnings. Without hesitation, he raises his weapon and severs Loig's head from his body. His teammates stand there terrorized, their faces in extreme shock looking towards Fado, who himself isn't. Mael tries to calm him down. She tries to make him believe that he didn't kill Loig. He was already beyond saving. She tells everyone that she wants to finish Randall off. Fado and Quella look at Mael bewildered. She tells them about her perception of the girl with Randall. She thinks it's a vampire. Everyone looks even more surprised. She further elaborated on her plan. Her eyes glinted with a mischievous glimmer as she revealed her intentions to frame Randall and the vampire girl for all their misdeeds. She spoke of selling them off to the highest bidder in the Magic Association. The leader of the Magic Association was a vampire hunter herself, and she will be more than willing to hunt one down. Fado still seems to be concerned about Loig, because he was the only one in his eyes on whom he could have pinned the blame. Mael assures Fado that he won't be a problem since many people already wanted to get rid of him as he had the potential to become a thief and join another country's army, thus making him the enemy of the Order. The most rational thing to do was to paint him as a traitor and take his body as a souvenir to the Order so that they believe them, because either way Loig had to die. By doing this, they will make sure that they return smoothly back in their ranks. Because, if they go back like this, they might be given the death penalty. Mael suggests that they go and meet Myrolo, the leader of the Magic Association, first. Randall and Miriam returned to the guild after a long day at the festival. As they entered, they were greeted by a group of fellow adventurers who congratulated them on their hard work. It was heartwarming to see so many people acknowledging their efforts. Miriam seems to enjoy the compliments. She doesn't hold back in flattering herself. They both are then appointed as S-rank parties. Fado's party was the first that consisted of only 2 people who were able to achieve such a high rank. Everyone, including Randall and Miriam, seems to enjoy the night. They throw a party at the guild for the adventurers. Randall sat at the guild's bar, savoring his drink as he gazed at Miriam. He felt a sense of calm wash over him, knowing that she had become more comfortable around humans. Just then, Gillen approached him and offered his congratulations. Randall's heart swelled with pride as he accepted the kind words, grateful for the recognition of his achievement in rising through the ranks and forming a successful party with only 2 members. Gillen warns Randall that he should be more suspicious of others since he works with a vampire, and the image of vampires is negative and deep-seated in the minds of adventurers. Randall thanks Gillen for updating him about the fact related to vampires. Gillen revealed that Fado and his companions had vanished without a trace. Randall's eyes widened in shock as he processed the information. Sensing his distress, Gillen quickly apologized to Randall. Randall comforted him, assuring him that the responsibility for their disappearance did not lie on his shoulders. As the story goes, Gillen had dispatched a search party to find Fado and his team. However, despite the suspension, they were determined to accomplish their mission and bring back some sort of achievement. Their goal was to rescue the villagers from the clutches of the fearsome dragon zombie. This statement from Gillen made Randall go into deep thought. He then discussed that when they reached the dragon graveyard, the dragon zombie was already resurrected. According to Miriam, that shouldn't have been the case. Gillen is surprised by hearing this from Randall. His initial task was to investigate the dragon zombie and come back home, but now he hears that someone might have manipulated the resurrection of the dragon. He looks at Randall and confirms that if they should use the thing they brought back. As they concluded their discussion, Gillen sends Randall back into the party to be the spotlight. The next day, before leaving, Randall and Miriam show Gillen the dragon zombie spirit that is now Randall's familiar. He is amused by looking at him. Randall diverts Gillen's attention towards him once again by stating that he has an additional piece of information. He heard a scream during his fight with the dragon. He thinks someone got caught in the crossfire and got hurt. Gillen acknowledged their report and told them that Lord Cecilium wishes to meet them. Cecilium is the frontier count who guards the southeast part of the kingdom. They all are curious and excited as to why a man of such high value would like to meet them. Gillen discloses that the quest of the zombie dragon was ordered by him in the first place, and they were allotted a handsome amount of budget for their quest, which Gillen then tosses a handsome amount of budget towards Randall, who catches it with a grin on his face. The adventure was about to begin. As they opened the container, their eyes widened in amazement. Inside lay coins, each one worth more than 100 gold coins. The group was taken aback by the sheer value of the treasure before them. With a warm smile, Gillen congratulated them on their achievement and bid them farewell. Meanwhile, in the forest, a headless body roams, unsure of its destination, the body that once belonged to a heavy knight, Loig. After receiving such handsome compensation for their hard work, Randall and Miriam start thinking of where to spend the newly acquired wealth. Randall suggests Miriam use it to rebuild her hometown to find her parents, but she insists that he should use it to buy some necromancer equipment and tools since he is the only adventurer who doesn't have one in the whole guild. Randall suggests that they find some stuff for both of their needs. For Miriam, they agree to go to a dungeon to get her supplies, specifically the god-slaying dungeon. To go there, they ask Earl the zombie dragon for a ride. They both depart for their journey when suddenly Randall notices something. He looks down and sees some merchants injured and lying on the floor. He assumes that they need help and thus jumps off Earl's back in midair. Followed by Miriam shortly after, asks the injured merchants if they need help, and they desperately call for him to help them. They reveal that they are B ranks who started a quest to capture the Goblin King. Randall understands the competencies of the B ranks are not enough to fight the Goblin King, who is a rank. He takes the quest onto himself and advises them to continue their escort duties. They warn him that he can't take on the Goblin King alone. Little did they know Randall wasn't alone. He took out his coffin of the dead spirit, and with a swoosh came out his familiars that left the B ranks astonished. Randall calls out Earl, and with him comes Miriam, landing with a thud. She informs him that the Goblin King will have 1 or 2 extra skills, and he orders Ray and Ace to step back and stands in front of the Goblin King alongside with Miriam while he passes a dealing roar. He orders his familiars Ray and Ace to protect the B ranks and uses his skill White Inferno on the Goblin King, releasing a blinding white light. As a result, he acquired 2 main skills, King Charisma and Accelerated Growth, which are both beneficial for him and his familiars. He turns back to the B ranks asking them if they're okay, but they are just too stunned to speak. They are completely amazed by their skills. With the defeat of the Goblin King, Randall and Miriam have earned themselves newfound respect from the chairperson of the Midgard firm. He approaches them with a heart full of gratitude, eager to express his thanks for the heroic act that had saved his life. As our heroes, Randall and Miriam, approach the knowledgeable man, he greets them warmly and shares his vast knowledge of their past adventures. Impressed by their bravery and skill, he bestows upon them a special badge of membership for their firm. With this badge, they would have access to his valuable services whenever they needed them. The chairperson offers to accompany him to the head office so that he can formally thank them. Randall and Miriam accept his request. Randall then asks him about the injured, to which the chairperson replies they have been distributed the firm's highly prized potion to heal their recovery, so they're all good now. As they're talking, the leader of the party interrupts their discussion. He introduces himself as Alan. He thanks Randall for protecting their people and allowing them to take command of their joint party. Randall immediately denies the offer as he thinks he isn't fit for the role. Everyone in the Midgard firm seems to know who Randall and Miriam are. As a service, Miriam sends out a huge wave of bats that heals every type of injury for the people. The leader of the firm, Alan, announces Randall as the leader of their joint party. Randall is concerned about the position, wondering if he really should be the leader of such a joint party. Later that night, they are treated to dinner at the farm where they talk about their adventures and the quests. Alan mentions that Randall must be able to handle that place. When asked about the place, he talked about his quest in the Phantom Beast Forest, where he got lost and was saved by a child fox spirit, and he was only able to survive because the parents of the spirits didn't see him as a threat. According to him, rank parties are hard to manage. After dinner, they go to their rooms to rest when Randall starts wandering back to the journey he had embarked upon. He couldn't help but marvel at how much he had accomplished in just a few short days. The new experiences, the unfamiliar faces, and the uncharted territories he had encountered were all a testament to his adventurous spirit. As he lay there, lost in thought, he couldn't help but feel grateful for the journey that had brought him this far. Miriam boosts his morale by giving him his skills credit that made him reach the spot he is in now. Randall was filled with determination as he reflected on the steps he had taken and the achievements he had made. He knew that these experiences would serve as a strong basis for his future endeavors. In the town of Allied, Randall and his party sit in the Midgard firm, the most resourceful place for an adventurer. The chairperson of the firm extends his gratitude again to both for saving his life. He asks what made them pass through the same path as them. Randall tells him that they happen to be on their way to get their equipment. Milam sees the sweets and gets distracted by them while the chairperson offers them a complete set of equipment from their store as a token of appreciation. Randall is surprised but hesitant since it's a big deal for him. The chairperson reassures him that if he and Milam use their equipment, it will be beneficial for them in terms of marketing and advertising of their products. Randall is tempted by the offer, but still, he insists that he pay for the equipment. He takes out the bag Gillen gave him as the reward money and places it on the desk. He tells the chairperson that this bag has gold and rainbow coins which are of high value. The chairperson assures Randall that he will get his most skilled craftsmen to make their weapons. Randall gets thrilled upon hearing that as he knows that the weapons from Midgard are of the highest quality and standard. The chairperson tells Randall that he will get his craftsmen to make them the original equipment, with the best quality assured. Randall turns to Milam to ask her opinion, but she's busy stuffing her face with sweets. The chairman sees her and offers her some sweets to take back home. Concerned about Milam equipments, he asks the chairperson if it's possible to get the sacred class equipment found in the dungeons here, since these types of artifacts were originally made by demons and gods and appear occasionally in the dungeons. The chairperson responds that he has a craftsman who can provide them with equipment that is of the same level as the sacred artifacts. This statement leaves Randall and Milam confused. He further elaborates that the craftsman is of mixed race and possesses the ultimate lifespan of an elf and the skills of a dwarf. Randall tells him that he thought the high elves went extinct. If they can't fight, they would have been captured by the merchants if they didn't stay hidden. The chairperson looks down with a concerned face and discloses that he is protecting them, and in return, they make equipment for him. This makes Randall's doubts clearer that they indeed were captured by the merchants but didn't end up as slaves. The chairperson then asks them to tell him the specifics, so that he would be able to provide them with the perfect weapons. According to him, Milam is a mage and Randall is a tamer. Randall interrupts him and clears this misconception by telling him that he is registered as a necromancer. The chairperson hasn't heard of a necromancer before, so he is quite unsure about what he means. Randall summons Ray in front of her to show him what he means. The chairperson gasps in shock, as a tamer is certainly not able to do this. Randall further elaborated that apart from Ray, he also has Ace, the Minotaur, and Earl, the dragon, are his familiars, and they exist in the form of spirits. Out of curiosity, he asks Randall if these spirits harbor any hatred towards him, but he is not sure about it. Milam explains to them that a necromancer can make anyone whom he killed obey him no matter how cruelly he killed them. But Randall hasn't exercised this yet since he has a pure heart, and maybe that's the reason his familiars stay by his side. Randall suddenly remembers that he needs equipment for his familiars too and asks the chairperson if he could get them. The chairperson passes a smile and assures him that he will do his best to get the products he needs. He then again asks them if there's anything else they need. Milam jumps in and quickly asks him to provide them with information on necromancers and descendants of the vampires and inform them if any unlikely event happens. She snaps her fingers and a bat appears. She leaves that with him and tells him to inform the bat about any mishap and it will convey it to us. The chairperson agrees. Before taking his leave, he tells them to survey the store and take the tools they might need for their adventures, as they are willing to provide them with everything. Randall and Milam excitedly accept the offer and turn towards the store to restock. As Randall walked through the store, he couldn't help but feel like all eyes were on him. He was getting unwanted attention from the people at the store since they haven't seen him there before. He tries to take his mind off them and discusses what to buy with Milam when suddenly their attention is diverted towards a rude, mean voice. It's the Baron Grimm. He faces the receptionist and complains about accepting low-ranked filthy adventurers into the store when it should be accessible to only reputable people. He points at Randall and asks why he carried the luggage of the heroes in this store. He accuses him of the downfall of his former party. Milam, who is standing beside Randall, catches his attention. He leans in and praises her beauty and offers her to come with him in return for a night at his house. With a stern face, Milam insults him, calling him a pig, which makes the Baron lose his mind, and he becomes furious and shouts at her, threatening her with his power and status. The chairperson returns to the store only to find out about the crowd and chaos that has been caused by the Baron. Grimm notices the chairperson and quickly starts to act all high and mighty by telling him that he handled the filthy adventurers and gave them a warning. The chairperson is enraged, asking if he did ridicule them in front of the whole store. The Baron is confused, and he tries to defend himself. The chairperson tells him of their status and that they saved his life. Grimm realizes that he is in great trouble. He tries to sort out the matter by implying that they are business partners and that he should not compare. him to the ones who just saved his life once because the business will still be useful to him in the future. After listening to this, the chairperson calmly states that their partnership ends here. He further explains that he doesn't need to compare someone who lives off their father's money to someone who possesses such a high rank. The Baron feels deeply insulted. He threatens him of his connections with Lord Cecilum, and that he will regret what he did. But the merchant stands steadfast in his decision and makes him leave his store. The chairperson apologizes to the whole store and gives them a discount to make up for the unpleasant occurrence. He also apologizes to Randall and Millum that they had to go through all this. Later, Randall and Millum go for a walk through the market. Millum's attention is caught by the street hawker who is selling candy apples. She goes to try one and ends up buying 10. Randall looks at her with concern. He tells her not to eat much or else she will gain weight. In defense, she says she is using her skill, dietary enhancement. Randall can now see how comfortable she feels around humans and asks her if she still is scared. She replies that it's because of him and quickly changes the subject. Randall couldn't help but feel glad and satisfied after looking at her. Meanwhile, Randall's former party arrives to meet Myrlo, the famous vampire hunter. Myrlo is standing on the other side of the room with her back turned on the lot that has come to meet her. With a wry smile, Myrlo addresses Mael. Mael greets her and suddenly she comes closer to her and expresses her excitement after knowing that they need a favor from her. Seeing her this close made Fado pull back. She notices him and taunts the guild for making someone like him the leader of the party. Mael offers Myrlo the head of Dullahan. Myrlo seems satisfied with the souvenir she received when suddenly Quella screams that it's not Dullahan's head, it's Loig's head. Myrlo glared at her, which made Quella choke hard, unable to breathe. Fado asks Myrlo to stop and she releases her. Quella asks Mael about Loig. She buried Loig's body. Mael reveals that she lied. She used Loig's head so that the Knight's Order won't be able to track them using magic. But Fado tells them that they can't run from them forever. Mael turns to Myrlo and states that the Night Order will listen to her since she is the president of the Magic Association. Mael tries to negotiate with Myrlo, but Myrlo cuts her in the middle of her sentence and agrees to help them as she seems to know what Mael might offer her in return. Fado doesn't seem to make sense of anything that's going on and asks for an explanation. Myrlo doesn't explain but instead insults him for being weak in the head. She turns to Mael again and asks if he has become a Dullahan already, holding Loig's head. Mael responds that she doesn't know. She looks closely at the head and examines it. It seems to not be decomposing and there is no sign of any special treatment. She goes on to say something but Mael interrupts and assures her that she will bring another souvenir for her. She is tempted by the offer and agrees to help them and decide for them so that they don't have to worry about hiding. She asks them if there's anything else they want to help them get the second souvenir. Fado reminds Mael to be prepared for their fight with a vampire and a monster. Myrlo gasps in excitement thinking about what her next souvenir might be. Mael explains to her that he is a former tamer, who might even be stronger than the vampire, who can't be defeated by normal means. Fado's face is drained of color. He stands there in shock after hearing this, and he is unable to accept this. Mael further explains that this is why he was able to turn Loig into a monster like him. With the amount of miasma he has, he will no doubt turn into a monster unlike any other. This whole discussion made Myrlo even more tempted, and she is willing to completely stop anyone who might try to stop them. Also, if they can bring any one of them alive, she will make them the hero's party. This offer is more than what they had imagined. Fado thinks about becoming the hero again through her power. He wants to accept the offer desperately. Myrlo seems to read his mind and reassures him that she has enough power to do so, and Mael agrees. Fado accepts the offer at once. Quella believes that because of the vampire, Randall has gone insane, and that is why they will catch the vampire alive. Myrlo couldn't believe what she just said and asked Mael to knock some sense into her. On the other hand, Randall and Millum arrive at the Margrave's mansion to visit Lord Cecilum, but instead of guests, they are perceived as intruders. The knights surround Millum and Randall and ask them to reveal their identities. Randall is alarmed. He introduces himself and tells them they had an appointment with Lord Cecilum. Upon hearing this, the knights immediately get out of their way and apologize for not being able to recognize them. They take them in to meet Lord Cecilum, who greets them and formally introduces himself. He shows gratitude towards them for eliminating the dragon and easing his worries. He asks them if they received the reward money which he left and if they want anything else as a reward, since according to him the money wasn't enough. He offers them a title, a mansion, and his daughter, but he suddenly realizes that she is not of age yet. But he mentions that he wants someone like Randall to have her hand. This discussion made Randall uncomfortable, and he quickly changed the subject. He asked him about the rank of the title he can give. The Lord replied that he can give the title of a Viscount very easily to anyone he wishes. Milim looks at Randall excitedly, but Randall is still unsure. The Lord again asks them about having a mansion. He tells them about the whereabouts of the mansion. That mansion is on the land that belongs to their branch family, but now it sits there empty. Randall begins to think about it and about Earl, that here he would be able to move freely. He tells himself it's not a bad deal, but he couldn't help but think of why he is offering a mansion so easily to them. He asks Lord Sicilium about the catch. He tells them that this place has many undead roaming around. By undead he means low-ranked zombies and skeletons. They will only have to do light cleaning and exorcism in exchange for a mansion. For Randall, taking out zombies and skeletons isn't a great deal. He accepts the offer. Lord Sicilium further mentions that there's a magic tool in the mansion that will help them get in contact with the Lord's mansion easily. Milim tells Randall that the Lord has taken a certain liking towards him, and that's why he wanted to build a connection with him, and he did that by offering him his daughter, a title, and a mansion. The Lord doesn't deny it. He tells them that he looks forward to working with them. He later asks Randall if he can show him a demonstration of his strength, just out of curiosity. Their discussion is interrupted when the second Knight of the Order Isle walks in. The Lord introduces them to each other, but Randall feels uneasy by her glare. The Lord continues and tells them that he wants them to train the Knight's Order, and as a reward he will give them a bottle of treasured wine and sweets that he is sure Milim will like. Hearing this, Milim quickly accepts the offer. After seeing his offer being accepted, he grins in delight. Randall comes to think that he wanted us to accept the offer, and he made sure that we do by offering things that Milim likes. But he doesn't give it any more thought. He just wants to spend his time in peace. Later that day, the Lord takes them out to meet his knights. Randall and Milim are surprised to see this many people training in a private army. Lord Cecilum tells them that he created the army to eliminate the dragon. He further mentions that Isle, along with other elite classes, can compete with other rank adventurers in one-on-one combat, and that he sometimes asks the adventurers who visit him to have a combat with them. Randall assumes that's why Isle was glaring at him, as they might think we took their job. But the Lord assures them that it's not like that. He introduces both as an S-ranked party to the army and asks them to show their training. Randall starts to think that being introduced as an S-ranked might not be enough, as they can compete with ranked individuals. They must be thinking that they are low level. Before Randall could finish thinking what to do to make them realize their true strength, Milim asks the army about how much she should back. This made the knights annoyed. Lord Cecilum told them to use all their strength, but make sure they didn't die. Randall summons Ace, Ray, and Earl. After seeing them, the army is stunned. They all are S-ranked familiars, and they start to make assumptions about the strength Randall possesses. Milim announces that they will take on a one-on-one fight. Randall looks at her confused and asks if she plans on taking them all. The Lord mentions that all of them don't have to participate. They can decide if they want to fight or not. Groyce, commander of the First Knight's Order, steps forwards and wishes to fight with Randall. Randall looks at him a little frightened and turns to inform Milim, but it looks like she has already found her opponent. It's Flood, commander of the Second Knight's Order. Milim is confused and asks about the number of orders. He starts explaining that they have 2 permanently stationed Knight's Orders and 5 commanders who move in case of emergencies, and before he could finish, she goes and says that this means they are not the strong ones. Flood feels a little offended but assures her that he isn't that weak either. Randall overhears their discussion and concludes that their opponents are commanders of each other. He knows that he must show them that they possess great skills and abilities which they use to eliminate the dragon and gain the respect of the Lord, since originally they were supposed to do the job. He diverts his attention to the fight and the Lord begins it. Randall couldn't believe how Groyce covered such a great distance with just one step. He swung his sword towards Randall, and in defense, Randall puts the sword he borrowed from Milim up and fought. Groyce is astonished to see Randall accept his attack. He didn't expect him to. Randall stands in front of him again, lost in thoughts, analyzing Groyce's strength. He comes to believe that he possesses great strength. Even an ranked adventurer cannot take him. It is because of his skills that he can defend himself this well. Among the skills he possesses, he was only able to surpass superhuman strength while fighting with Loig. He acknowledges that Loig's skills were excellent. His stream of thought was disrupted by Groyce, who taunts him for thinking during the match. Randall jumps and attacks him at once, saying that he is underestimating him. He once again stands in front of him thinking of how to end this match, in a way that he doesn't die in it. Because without Ray and Ace, he cannot win this with just his beginner level swordsmanship, and the skills he possesses are too strong. At this point, Groyce is getting extremely annoyed at Randall for not making the first move. He goes on all out and uses his death move on Randall. And that's how the first part of this manhwa ends. Well guys, if you like this video and you want a second part, comment below with the word part 2. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and like the video. But most important, leave a comment. Until the next video.